Behold my ugly, oversized Star Wars themed Christmas sweater, which is so perfect for this time of year. And also what happened this weekend, which was the release of the latest Star Wars film, Star Wars Rogue One, directed by Gareth Edwards, and the first standalone Star Wars film. This is not one of the major episodes, like episodes 1 through 7. This is a standalone story and an offshoot that bridges the gap between the events of episode 3 and actually the way the film ends. It pretty much ends right where episode 4 begins. So, I saw it this morning. Got an early morning screening of it. The weather was actually really bad in my area, so the theater itself wasn't that crowded. And I think the early screen time and the fact that the roads were so icy was a big part of that, but there was no way I was missing this. It's a new Star Wars movie. There's no way I'm missing this, regardless of what the ultimate quality is. It's like, it's Star Wars, I gotta watch it. It's just one of those things that I just love. And man, I've got a lot of thoughts about this movie. I really liked it. I really, really liked it. Watching the movie, it is very different from the typical Star Wars film. Tonally, it's very different. It's not the fun, swashbuckling space adventure that you've come to expect from Star Wars. It's a war movie. It's straight up just a war movie. Like, as I was watching it, I was getting visions of, like, this reminds me of, like, The Dirty Dozen, and movies like Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, obviously not as intense as some of those films, but about as intense as a Star Wars film as it's willing to go. And it's got this grimy, dirty, in the trenches approach to it, and it worked really well for me. I don't think everybody is going to like this film, and I've already heard the complaint that it's too dark, it's too intense for children, and all this other stuff, which to me, those are positives. Not everybody's going to like that. I've also found there's kind of a divide between, if you really like The Force Awakens, you weren't as keen on this one, and if you weren't cool with The Force Awakens, you like this one a lot more. I'm more in the later camp. I enjoyed The Force Awakens. I reviewed it last year, and I made my feelings on it quite clear. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a good palate cleanser after the prequels, but the criticism that it was too much like A New Hope, South Park did an entire season making fun of it with the member berries and everything, but remember Chewbacca? Remember Chewbacca again? The criticism was very fair, and thank God J.J. Abrams is not going to be directing 8 and 9, because I think my fear would be is that 8 and 9 would just be Empire and Jedi again, and I think with new people involved, I think we'll have a better chance of success. And a better chance of taking the elements from Episode 7 and developing it into its own story and its own, contribute something different to the Star Wars mythology, as opposed to just reenacting the old episodes again. But Rogue One, I pretty much got what I wanted out of it, and then some, to be perfectly honest. What I wanted out of this was, all right, we know the Rebels get the Death Star plans. We know Death Star goes boom at the end of Episode 4. We know this. So this story doesn't have a whole lot of drama to it as far as how it plays into the overall mythology, but it is like that backstory, and it is that missing piece of the puzzle. I was like, okay, that could be fun. It really, what I wanted out of this, not only the war movie aspect, but the expanded universe novel come to life. And that, we've never gotten that as a Star Wars movie before, because the prequels were not like the expanded universe at all. And Episode 7 was not like the expanded universe at all. It tried a little too hard to match the original movies. This movie really did feel like they borrowed, and not necessarily in terms of contents, although Kyber crystals came up a lot. They didn't necessarily bring in a lot of the lore from the expanded universe, but just the tone and the overall approach and style to it very much reminded me of the expanded universe books, and I really like that. Like, even the old characters like Darth Vader, who, yes, I'm gonna get to Darth Vader, making quick appearances, that felt like something that you would have seen in the books, where it's like, yeah, the book will have its own characters and its own story, but they'll have these little ties back into back to the original films or back to the main episodes. I didn't talk about this when I reviewed the Dark Lord trilogy, but at the end of Rise of Darth Vader, the epilogue is Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine realizing that Darth Vader is still alive. And that's how they tie that into episode 4. Again, this movie very much has, like, after the main story is done, it has kind of an epilogue that bridges the gap between this story and episode 4. So, and it's really just bringing in the characters that are there at the beginning of episode 4, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, all that, and just setting that stage. So, yeah, very much, like, tonally and structurally, this was very much like an expanded universe novel, even down to the names, and some people are making fun of it. I kind of got a kick out of it. The names look like anagrams or something. They just look like a random jumbling of letters, like Jin and, so many of the other characters. What was See, I've already forgotten their names, so I guess you could say that's a negative part of it, but I'll learn their names eventually. But Donnie Yen's character and, his mercenary partner and the main intelligence officer for the rebels, they all have these really freaky names that are again, they feel like jumbled letters. And the main villain, director Carrick, I believe his name was, sounded like Keurig, like the K-Cup machine. So if I jokingly call him Director K-Cup, please excuse me. But I very much appreciated, this was a Star Wars movie that gave me something different. It gave me again, that expanded universe feel that I really liked in movie form, and I thought it was very, very good from that end. So, yeah, what else is there to really talk about? I'm trying to front load the review with all the good stuff in vague terms, and then save all the spoilers for the end, but I will say that the action is very good. There's no Jedi in the film, so you don't get much lightsaber action, which, again, I love, because I got spent on that from watching the prequels. And whenever there are Force users involved in the story, a lot of times it feels obligatory. So the fact that we have a Star Wars movie where the main characters are not Jedi and not lightsaber fighters and not Force and strictly Force sensitive, I guess you could say Donnie Yen's character is to some degree, but I like that. It's different. It plays more into the war movie aspect, which is what I wanted out of this. And, yeah, so, again, this is a very different Star Wars movie from what we're used to seeing. There is no opening crawl. I know some people didn't like that. I didn't have as much of a problem with it because this isn't one of the episodes, so I didn't necessarily need the crawl. For a standalone story. I even jokingly said as we were walking out of the theater, it's like, instead of having an opening crawl, they should have had a closing crawl and just used the New Hope opening crawl as like the closer right before the credits. Oh, sorry, I keep hitting my camera. But yeah, the action sequences are very good. The characters, most of them I liked. What's the droid's name? KO-25. I thought he was really funny and very good, and kind of this movie's C-3PO, but not more of a badass C-3PO. Really liked him, and he had a lot of really funny lines. Really liked Donnie Yen's character. Really liked the mercenary partner. Forrest Whitaker was okay. What's that character's name? Saw Gerrera, who's a character left over from the Clone Wars. I actually heard they made a lot of references to Rebels. Apparently Chopper's in one of the scenes. And they make a reference to Captain Syndulla, and apparently, I missed this, but apparently the Phantom is present at the final battle, which is really interesting. So if those things are really there, then great, but I think the only one I caught was Captain Syndulla. But yeah, most of the characters are really good. The weakest character is probably, again, I'm probably messing up the name here, Andor, like the main rebel intelligence officer. Jin starts off a little bland, but gets better as the movie progresses. I've heard some people say that the movie starts off a little slow, and I guess that's just Gareth Edwards' style. He likes to start slow, and his whole approach is slow and steady wins the race. Anybody who saw Godzilla, I mean, that ending to Godzilla was amazing, and some people said the beginning was slow. I don't mind a slow build, as long as it pays off, and I felt like both movies, Godzilla and Rogue One, it's like, yeah, they start slow, but goddamn, Gareth Edwards, he's got you, man. He'll take care of you by the end of the movie. And the ending climactic battle where the rebels get the plans is really amazing. And one of the faults of The Force Awakens was that ending X-Wing battle was really bad. Like, infiltrating Starkiller Base, that stuff was fine. The lightsaber fight, that stuff was fine. Han and Kylo Ren on the bridge, that stuff was fine. The X-Wing stuff I couldn't give two shits about. And it was so, like, in one ear and out the other. The end battle in this movie is incredible. Like, up there with, like, the best Star Wars battles are, like, the Battle of Yavin, the original Death Star battle, Battle of Hoth, and to some degree, the second Death Star battle as well. Although I was more interested in the Luke Vader Emperor stuff, but... and I probably wouldn't say this one is as good as those because I prefer practical effects and just like the precise timing of the models and capturing all those shots and all that stuff. That's more impressive to me. And this is all obviously CGI, but it looks amazing and it's staged very, very well. And there are all these little things like getting the shield gate. They have to get the shield gate opened and they gotta download the plans, they gotta beam it up to the Rebel transport, and they gotta beam it over to Princess Leia, and all these little things that are going on while all this action and shit is blowing up, and it's all really incredible and really well done, and a very violent movie too. Not graphically violent, but very intense in its violence. And again, I'm completely fine with that. Some kids in the audience were not as fine with it, but yeah, I mean, if you want a different kind of Star Wars movie, and if The Force Awakens especially kind of left you feeling a little empty, I think this movie you'll probably appreciate a lot more. If you prefer your Star Wars movies to be strictly, fun and swashbuckling adventures, I think this movie might let you down a little bit because it is a lot darker and a lot different, but... honestly, I enjoyed it tremendously. I really, really enjoyed it. And I guess, inevitably, I gotta compare it to The Force Awakens. I thought this movie was better. I've heard some people say the ones that really like this movie are throwing out it's the best one since Empire. I would not go that far. I would say it's the best one since Jedi. It's the best one since the original trilogy, which if you look at episodes 1, 2, and 3, and you look at the Clone Wars movie, that's not saying much, but it's, as a Star Wars fan, I'm very happy with this. And this one was a lot more ambitious, I felt, in terms of its story and what it was trying to do than The Force Awakens was, which was really... That movie really played it safe, and this one did not. And I think I appreciate taking risks more. And I guess that's just Gareth Edwards' style. And I guess part of my thing is I'm just going to be the guy that defends his movies, because I've defended the Godzilla movie, and I thought the whole idea of not showcasing Godzilla that much was actually a very good thing and one of the strengths of the film. And one of the reasons I like that film, yes, Bryan Cranston was not in the movie enough. That is a completely valid complaint and shouldn't have happened, and that's something that should have been fixed and recognized early on. But I did enjoy that film, and I liked a lot of the stylistic choices that Gareth Edwards chose for that film. And I liked a lot of the choices that he went with in this film as well. I don't know how much the film was changed in the reshoots and the much publicized reshoots that were made earlier this year. I don't know how much was changed, but... overall, I did appreciate this film. I thought it was action-packed, it was great, it was intense, it was violent, and it still gave me that classic Star Wars feel. And I guess now I'll just kind of transition into spoiler territory. I mean, I feel like there's not a whole lot to spoil because we all know how it ends, right? I mean, you've all seen episode 4, right? One thing that I really did like... about the film, even though it might be too neat of a... some people probably saw this as like, it's too neat of a package. I really like that all the Rogue One characters died. I like all the Rebel... Like, that Rebel team, the Imperial pilot that defected, KO-25, Andor, I think that's his name, Jin, even Jin, that one surprised me. I did not expect her to die, actually. I thought they were going to find some way to keep her alive, but no, she died too, even. And I thought that was really kind of a brave decision to make, because I was thinking, look, if Disney wants to continue making money off these characters, they're going to have, like, books and novels, which I guess they can still do, but, it would just all have to be prequel information, but... I really appreciate it. It's like, no, they killed everybody. Awesome. It's like, yay, there were consequences. And I liked most of the characters, so it's like, I legitimately felt bad when they died. Most of them. Director K-Cup, and I haven't talked as much about him. I thought he was a good villain. He's very, kind of you can see he's like kind of a control freak and he wants everything to be his way, and he's trying to, I get the sense just watching the movie that the people that work underneath him, he's able to bully them around and get them to do whatever he wants them to do. But whenever he goes up against somebody like Governor Tarkin, who they integrated into the film, and I'll cover that in a minute, but whenever he's working with somebody above him, like Governor Tarkin or Darth Vader, he gets just bullied, like horribly bullied. So he's kind of like in the middle of the Imperial hierarchy, and I thought that was really interesting. That it's like, oh, he's like this control freak with everybody else, but when he goes up against somebody like a Tarkin or a Vader, he gets owned completely. And I guess now's the time to really talk about the classic characters that got brought in. There wasn't much of the member berries aspect of this film. There was some of it, but not to the degree that it was in Force Awakens. Some of them worked really well. Other ones did not, for me personally. Some people like that Ponda Baba and Dr. Evanson were included in the film. Personally, I was just kind of like, that feels a little forced. And I didn't feel like they added much to the story. That just felt like, it's like, see what we did there? See, like in The Force Awakens when Finn opens up the chessboard or plays with the remote. It's like, see what we did there? And that one I didn't like as much. But the other ones that fit into the continuity of the film and to, again, put all the pieces in place for Episode 4, C-3PO and R2-D2 are only in the movie for like 5 seconds. I was fine with that. It's like, look, we need to know that they're there because they're there at the start of Episode 4. It's like, all right, that's fine. It was only 5 seconds. So, that's okay. Grand Moff Tarkin, who they incorporated into the film with this, like, facial mapping, like, CGI technique. I don't even know what it was. Some people said it didn't look good. I thought he looked fine. Princess Leia is in the second to last shot of the film. That one wasn't as convincing to me, but it's like, I didn't mind that as much because, again, you want to match the continuity to Episode 4, and Peter Cushing is no longer with us. And I thought they got his character right, and every time he was on screen, I was completely fine with him being there, so I was fine with it. Of course, I also love Governor Tarkin. He might be the most underrated Star Wars movie character of all time, and part of that is my undying love for Peter Cushing, but, yeah, I got a kick out of seeing him again. But again, most of the inclusions of the old characters was done to keep in continuity and to keep the story moving. It wasn't just, let's just have this reference for the sake of having this reference, and I really appreciate that. It was story first, and then fan service later. And I'm always the type of guy that's like, no, story first. It's one of my same complaints with the WWE. They keep throwing Undertaker out there, expecting me to mark out for it, and it's like, yeah, but you're just throwing old guys out there. Who cares? Like, what's the context? What's the purpose? What's the story? And I felt like Rogue One did a much better job of handling that. And again, it was great seeing Tarkin again. It was great seeing Darth Vader, which I guess I'll talk about that now. And I mentioned it again. I'll bring Gareth Edwards back into the discussion. I said when I reviewed Godzilla that yes, Godzilla's not in the movie that much, but goddamn did they make every second count. Darth Vader gets even less screen time than Godzilla did, and which again, it's not Darth Vader's story, so I had no problem with the limited screen time at all. But goddamn, he's only in the movie. I'm gonna take a stab and say he's only in the movie for about 3 to 4 minutes. They made every fucking second count. My God, this is some of the best Darth Vader material ever. And it's only 2 scenes. And it's the one scene of him at his lava palace, which I didn't know Darth Vader had. It looks like he lives in, like, fucking Mordor. Like, I was thinking, like, Orthanc or Barad-dûr, but with the lava, he borrowed the lava waterfall from Snake Mountain and Skeletor and stuff, but Yeah, you see his home, which we've never seen before. We also see him in apparently he lives in a bacta tank. When he's not in the suit, he basically has to live in some sort of life support, and that image of him just floating in the bacta tank with the two Imperial guards watching over him, like, man, that's pretty shitty existence, but it was chilling all the same. And again, watching him just bully around Director K-Cup was made for a really cool scene, I thought. And he even made a bad joke, and he was so intimidating that I was like, nope, Vader, I'm going to let you have that, because I'm not going to tell you that you made a bad joke. It's like, I'm so like, it's like, don't fuck with this guy. It's like, do not choke on your aspirations, director, as he's force choking him. It's like, that's classic Vader. And everything that Vader did in this was just classic Vader. And when you get to the final battle, which I've already talked about, the final battle is really well staged, plenty of new stuff going on and the way they handled certain things, but it's also classic Star Wars too. So I mean, the whole that whole final battle is just incredible. But yeah, when the Death Star plans have been transferred over and all the main characters are dead, and Vader boards the rebel ship as they're trying desperately to get the plans off the ship and get it beamed over to Princess Leia. Vader boards the ship. My God. It was like out of a horror movie. Him just taking that red lightsaber out and force choking and slicing and cutting up every fucking rebel in his path. It was unbelievable. Just amazing scene. And this is the last scene of the movie, really. So they went out on a very high note. And like I said, they made every second count with Darth Vader. It's incredible. And again, that's very fan servicey to do that. Just give us a really badass Darth Vader. And it was great to get this because the last image we had of Vader in a movie was no. So it's nice that you know, Darth Vader got his balls back and he's back to being just a bloodthirsty, casually. Because that was one of the things I always liked about Darth Vader. He is casually menacing. Like, he just does it like, yeah, it's what I do. It's like, and scenes like in Star Wars Rebels, where he's just like, no, we need to strangle the rebels, and just suggesting these really like harsh tactics to dealing with them, like it's nothing, like he doesn't care. And yeah, that's the Darth Vader that I like. That's, oh my God, just again, it's just two scenes, but he's amazing in it, and definitely leaves an impression. And but it doesn't take away from the overall story, which also helps. It's not just, he doesn't cast this huge shadow over the entire movie. The rest of the story is still able to play out naturally. I think I probably would have liked it if Vader had maybe killed Jyn. I think I probably would have included her in that last scene, but then again, it probably would have taken away from Vader. So I don't know. It might have taken away from Vader to have a major character death tied onto that. But I probably would have been tempted to have Jyn like get the Death Star plans off, and Vader kills her as she's doing that. Just as she hands it off. I probably would have liked that. But and whatever, minor nitpick. But yeah, Darth Vader was absolutely incredible in this, and it was really the icing on the cake of what was already a really good Star Wars movie and something that I really enjoyed. So, man, Gareth Edwards, man, you gave me a Godzilla movie. Again, you gave me an American Godzilla movie that I had very little faith in and thought that I would never get a good American Godzilla movie, and you gave it to me. I wanted an expanded universe Star Wars movie that felt very much like one of the novels come to life. You gave that to me. This guy's he's got me covered. Like, I feel like he's looking out for me, and I really appreciate that, Mr. Edwards. You're the man. You're awesome. And, so, yeah, those are my thoughts on Star Wars Rogue One. I'm a happy Star Wars fan right now. I loved it, and I highly recommend it. So, yeah, this Christmas season, if you're looking for a movie to go see, you can't do any better than Rogue One right now. I just thought that, and again, the movie's not for everybody, I'll admit that, but if you're on the same wavelength as me and you want to see something like that, by all means check it out, because this movie's got you. It's it's really good. It's really, really good. But that is all I have for now, and I've got a couple more videos lined up before I tune out for 2016. But keep on watching, guys, because I've got more for you.